Welcome to the Root of It All podcast with Tree, where you will learn new habits for human betterment. We talk about all things related to personal growth, and everything is on the table. Each episode will explore different topics like self-care, mindfulness, goal setting, and more, with a focus on practical tips and actionable advice you can start implementing in your life today. Our goal is to help you become the best version of yourself and live a more meaningful life. So grab a drink, cozy up, take your dog for a walk, or go for a drive. Join us for some fun and meaningful conversations with some amazing humans. Let's grow together. Hello, everybody, and I have an awesome guest, and his name is Jeff Martin. He's a fellow hypnotist. He's part of the Master Hypnotist Society, and every time you and I get together, we have such a good time, and you own Lincoln Hypnosis. So I'm excited to have you here and have a great conversation for people to learn off more hypnotists. So thanks for being here, Jeff.
Thank you, Tree. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you and introduce myself to people that are in your area and mine, and just tell them a little bit more about what I do, why I do it, and the excitement that I get from helping people and helping people not just to lose weight or stop smoking, but to help them to get out of the pain that they're in when they come in, because everyone that's coming in is in some kind of pain. They're in either an emotional pain, mental pain, or even physical pain.
Yeah.
And so as a hypnotist, I screen each of my clients to see whether or not hypnosis is right for them.
Mm-hmm.
Screening is really an interesting and fun part of the process. So
Yeah, and that's a great thing that we do that because we need all of the programs that we offer, they're completely unique to the person. And it's interesting how the people are in pain. Sometimes don't you notice that they come in and they'll be like, well, I just need to do this. But then after in the screening, it's something totally different that they need to change to get to their outcome, whether it's weight loss, stop smoking, or stress management. So what are some of the big pain points that you find in people that really that they get into and they're sabotaging their life because they're in that pain?
we can
Like
start with
what would be give me two, the top two, top two.
top two. Okay, the top two would be weight loss and stop smoking.
And what would be, so let's look at weight loss. What would be like two main pain points that people are in when they're coming for weight loss?
Well, they're in physical pain because many of them, if they're
Mhm.
obese or very overweight, then they usually will have issues and problems with like their knees. And so they can't walk up and down stairs. They will have issues with their back. They will have issues exercising because they can't tend to have the motivation to get up, because when they exercise, they're exercising in, I guess, more pain. And so as soon as they start something, they'll go for a day or two, and then they just give up. So
Yeah.
that caused them to go back to the old them.
Hmm.
And what I want to teach them is to move, out of that pain so they begin to feel better. They trust themselves more. They can feel more confident. They like themselves more. And then they can move into something that is more permanent, more helpful, more beneficial, that they can be actually motivated to do, because the outcome that we can teach them and show them how to get there. And the steps are easy and simple. It's not.
And what's great about that too is that a lot of times people don't even realize the amount of pain that they're in. The fact that they've lost their mobility. And sometimes they've lost their mobility so much that they got comfortable with that. Where we need to teach people that they could actually live in a different way and that things can change and that there is a whole bunch of possibility. Because it's amazing how much pain people can live in before they're actually getting help, which is an unfortunate thing.
Yeah, the amount of pain that people endure, that's between physical one and then emotional pain, is huge with people, because what they will tend to do, they'll tend to become people pleasers. So they tend to, go out of the way to make sure everyone else is okay. They'll join, like, maybe as an example, it could be church groups, could be school groups, could be this group over here.
So The cool thing about you is that you have firsthand experience when we talk about pain because you as well, because of sports and injuries and different things, you have a bunch of things going on with your body, right? So teach people how you used to sabotage yourself and kind of ignore the pain and and just had that mentality of like, well, suck it up. The game must go on.
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate that I've been in a number of sports in my life, but in sports, I dealt with a lot of pain. I had knee pain way back in, say, the eighth grade. And so I always
Oh,
pushed through
wow.
that pain. Yeah.
From the eighth grade. The
Yeah.
eighth grade. Oh my gosh.
I remember being in the eighth grade and playing baseball. And you know how the catcher sits behind the plate and catches the ball?
Yep.
I always was amazed how they could do that because when I would do that, my knees be in so much pain, I could only do it for a few minutes.
Oh my gosh. And how, like, so when you're in that much pain, sometimes people get used to it. So even when we're talking about weight loss clients, they get used to the pain and discomfort of the excess weight, right? And so being 8 years old and having that much pain in your body, you must have had some of that similar thing that you just sort of got used to it, or because you went on to play other sports, yes?
I went on to play more sports. And the thing about pain that I learned is I could go through it and still do okay. But as you get older and our bodies don't function the way they did when you're 8 years old, the pain increases more and more. And so I was actually proud of the fact that I could go through any kind of pain in this world
Mhm.
and still function. Now, that's not something to be proud of. The
But
right
you,
answer would be
yeah.
to, what can I do that can help me to deal with that better
Mhm.
so that I felt better and I could do even better at my sport or whatever activity I was involved in.
And the amazing thing too that you were just mentioning to me before we started recording is that you said if you were overweight, you would actually have to be in a wheelchair if you didn't take care of your weight. Yes?
That's absolutely true. If I was, 40, 50 pounds heavier, even now when I talk about the pain I was in when I was 8, you can multiply that times about 50 with
Oh, wow.
my knees and different parts of my body now. So when I'm working with other people, if I had 50 pounds that I had to carry on my shoulders,
Hmm.
I would literally need to have a wheelchair to get around in life.
Well, and that's the great thing too when we talk about the Master Hypnotist Society and how we've been trained is that every trainer and hypnotist in the Master Hypnotist Society is that we have to actually fix ourselves and grow ourselves. Like even for myself, I wasn't in physical pain, but lots of emotional pain because of the way that I was brought up. And for every person that comes in our doors, whether it's Lincoln Hypnosis, the Burlington Hypnosis Center, or any of the other, I think we're up to like 50, 60, 70 different clinics all across North America. Um, but everybody has some sort of pain point, or whether it's emotional or physical. And what we're helping people out is losing weight, stop smoking, stress management, and to really help them navigate these different things. So even when you and I were talking before, like part of my growth was emotional pain. I used to
Right.
be in a ton of resentment. And for a lot of people wanting change, resentment is a big emotion. If whatever it is that we've been through, and I'm sure people that are listening to this, they're like, oh yeah, I've been in resentment about this or that or the other thing. But the great thing is that we are living, breathing examples that you can live your life in a different way. And we have thousands of examples of written accounts of people that have been through the programs that it's also worked for them as well. So what would be teach what would be a story that you can tell people of an experience that you had? And I'll be more specific in the question here. I know sometimes I can be all over the place. You and I are really good at distracting. Like oh my gosh, if you and I had to travel somewhere and we had to get from point A to point B, we would take the biggest zigzag loop because we'd be like,
New
what's over here?
distractions.
Let's go check this out. We'd stop and talk to people. We would be, and so I guess we would be a good example of kind of what patterns other people and um, uh, have within themselves. So teach people about the biggest way that you've distracted yourself in personal or business or whatever.
When you, excuse me, when you get back to the pain that I was experiencing in physical pain
Yep.
and you had to, bull your way through that. When I'm talking about, especially my earlier life, where I would meet someone and I was always have to stuff my feelings and act twice as tough as I was. And it just turned into a way where, as far as I'd turn more people off than help people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was almost like I was proud of being tough in the physical way, but the emotional way, I didn't even realize it transformed into that
Mm.
piece of that too. And so you get just used to stuffing your feelings. And the more you stuff them, eventually something's going to come up.
Yes. And
Yeah.
lots of people have that same pattern.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And so, there's different coping skills that we can learn that we deal with life that aren't really very useful. They're more harmful than useful.
And it's such a relief, like what you were saying, when people first come and see us, they get a massive relief because they're learning things about themselves that they would have never learned. And I don't know about you, but I find a lot of people, they read all kinds of books or they'll do all kinds of research and Dr. Google, right,
Yes.
online, and but they're still not changing. So it's like there's almost too much information. And that's the great thing about um, what we do for a living is that we're truly giving people relief, which is an amazing thing.
It's an amazing thing when you can, see that smile on a person's face, or
Mm,
they're like bouncing after a session. They're just so happy. They're just getting up and they're going and they're motivated and they just have so much energy. They just have so much enthusiasm within themselves that they never knew existed before. And then
mhm.
I've had a client a few years ago that a weight loss client, Jan, and she had a number of different surgeries on both one shoulder and then the other shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then she had to have one shoulder redone.
Wow.
And yeah. And so she was still always up and enthusiastic and everything. And, at her program, she did so great, lost over 30 pounds, felt really great with her life. And then she was able to uh, not only do better in her job, get more clarity there. She was able to, deal with, you know, life and relationships
Mhm.
in 100 different ways better, so much
Well,
better.
yeah, and that's the great thing because when they're making the changes, first of all, they're getting their mind in the right place. Secondly, they're learning how to communicate with themselves better, and inadvertently, they're learning how to communicate with others, right? Because we're all just humans, and when we're learning how to communicate with ourselves, we also learn how to communicate with others because we understand what is actually happening to us when it comes to emotional, physical, even spiritual interactions, which is a really great thing. So so that's a really great example. Somebody that has had multiple surgeries and they're still keeping their mind in the right place
Right.
and
Yes.
getting to their goals. Yeah, and they are. For anybody, even stress management, weight loss, or quit smoking, they have more energy. They have more um, uh, mental clarity, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. It's almost as if they were stuck in a way that they weren't even aware they were stuck. And
Mhm.
because they kept, putting their nose to the grindstone, they wouldn't see the next step to take. That was such an easy way for them to look at the world in a different way, in a better way, a more powerful way. I
Mhm.
know in the past, I've gone up and down with my weight, and I know that if I gain 10 pounds, just walking up the stairs seems like a tremendous effort.
Oh,
And when
yeah,
a
it's
person is 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds or 40 or even more overweight,
mhm.
that's like putting a 50-pound backpack on your back and running around doing errands all day. You'd be exhausted.
Yeah, it's interesting. My husband, he plays hockey, not professionally, just a beer league. And of a guy that he plays hockey with was having some health issues. And
Mhm.
so all of a sudden he chose to start losing weight and he lost 50 pounds. And he kept on, this guy was talking to my husband, and which my husband's name's Jeff as well. And
It's a good name. It's a really
it's a good solid name.
name you can trust. Yes.
A name you can trust. You got it. And and it was funny because the guy, every time he'd go to hockey, he'd put down his hockey bag and he would purposely get a hockey bag with that did not have wheels. So he had to carry it. So it
Yeah.
reminded him that that is how much weight he got off. Because a hockey bag is about 40, 50 pounds. And
Yeah.
so it was a constant reminder of him for him that, okay, keep on track. And even for me, like, you know me, I love wearing high heels all the time. But if I kind of slack at the gym or I'm not walking as much and I'm not building enough muscle in my legs, my knees start to hurt when I'm wearing heels. So I know if my knees are hurting, I gotta get my butt to the gym and make sure that I'm lifting enough weights or I'm creating enough strength and muscle around my knee joints that can support my love of high heels.
So I talk to clients and I refer to like my smokers, for instance, where what makes them feel good, what makes them feel cool, why do they enjoy doing things,
Hmm.
why do they like this person, what types of adventures do they really like? Well, when a smoker begins to smoke, you know, they'll stuff their bad feelings, and then only the good comes out. And so we want to have them look at life in a different way, where instead of stuffing it, they feel better. Instead of blaming it on something else, they can really slow
Hmm.
down and exist physically and mentally in this world.
Yeah, and there's lots of reasons why people are smoking. I had a client once that she was smoking, she was in her 70s and she lost her husband 20 years prior and she was kept on smoking because she felt like she was cheating on her husband if she quit because when her husband was alive, that's what they would do together. They would smoke together. So it's almost like if she quit, she was feeling as if that she was cheating on him or doing something or
Yeah.
she would be sort of admitting that she was moving on, which she really loved and cared about him. So for her, her pain point was that she needed to step more into forgiveness and find a way how to honor her husband or do a ritual even each day because she was using the smoking as a ritual itself. So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of different reasons, but you're absolutely 100% that there's some form of emotion, whether it's people running away from stress, running away from that feeling inside, where a lot of people believe that smoking calms them, but it actually does the complete opposite, that they've actually just hypnotized themselves in believing that, which is
Yeah.
somewhat a little nuts.
I hypnotized myself to feel cool when I smoked.
Well, back then, yeah,
That's
it
cool.
was the cool thing to do, right? The kids on the corner or you know, I think, I don't know about you, but I know in high school, and I actually didn't smoke in high school. I waited till I was like 26 to start smoking, which was so silly. It was like the most, I don't even know why I started. And I quit actually not long after. I smoked for a very short stint.
Mhm.
And it was just looking back, it was like the silliest thing to do. But yeah, it was the cool thing to do when I was working in the fashion industry. Like it was the cool thing to do then too, right? It was also the best place to get all the gossip, all the goods, right? Because I was working downtown Toronto and the people that went out and smoked, they'd talk about this designer or that designer or what the best bar to go to or this bar owner or that bar owner. So you kind of like got in and got into clubs by like, oh yeah, I was outside chatting with this person. So
Yeah.
it's very
A
different.
social way of communicating
Mhm.
with people and getting out there and enjoying life in a different way. So there's a piece of that that's useful, but on the other side of it, most of it is going to, eventually kill you if you're not careful.
Literally, yeah.
I mean, kill you.
Literally,
Yes.
literally kill you. Yes.
Yeah. So when
So,
I see a client out there, like in the mall or at a trade show, and I had a lady come up to me a couple months ago, and she just said, "You saved my life, and you saved my husband's life."
Hmm.
and she was a smoker from 4 years before.
Yeah, I actually just signed up a client that um, it's a couple and they both quit smoking. And now 5 years later, they're still non-smokers and that's the best thing that they ever did. But now they want to come back for other things. So
Yes.
yeah, so it's really cool. And it was interesting for them to tell me about their experience too. They're like, yeah, now we smell people that
Yes.
they smell the cigarettes and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And so it's neat to have people come back even, 6, 10 years later and they're feeling good. They're like, yeah, it's the best thing I ever did. Or you even get the referrals from the people,
We get
right?
a lot of referrals this way. And, I remember back when I smoked, there was this one kid I knew, and his hands would turn orange in his fingers
Oh, yeah, yeah,
because he
yeah.
smoked so much. And you could come within about 6 or 8 feet of this person, and the stench was just horrendous.
Wow. And they don't know.
And they don't know, they can't
They
smell it.
think, right. So it's like they're hypnotized to just, well, this is just what it is. Do you find this too, that sometimes people will come in, they have young kids and they're like, oh, no, my kids don't know that I smoke. And I'm like, yeah, they know that you smoke. They can like, or my spouse doesn't know. I'm like, yeah, they probably know.
Yeah. Well, that and there's a piece of that where, I'm doing this for my kids, and well, if their kids are like 12 or 15, they're probably not doing it for their kids.
Hmm.
So they
And
need a real reason to step into that journey of becoming smoke free, because once they make a choice and a decision, then it is pretty easy to step into an action plan that really helps them in so many ways, that, I mean, not just mentally but physically, and can actually save their life. Yeah.
absolutely, and you're right. If they make, as soon as they make that decision, and they've pretty much made that decision before they come to see us, but they're still talking to themselves in their head, right? Like that when we all have that angel and devil, we all know we need to do this, but I want to do this, but I know I should do this, but I want to do that, and it's really about teaching people the tools and techniques to just get their mind in the right place to stay on track and because people put themselves in this hypnotic trance that makes no sense, right? Like what
Well,
like I used to tell myself a story that would be like, "Oh, well, I'll show you, damn it." Right? Or
right.
I'll do it myself, damn it. Those are the stories I used to tell myself, but
Yes.
it's unuseful. Even the emotion's unuseful. What stories did you used to tell yourself?
Well, in different cases, in different scenarios,
Mhm.
I told myself a lot of different stories. My biggest story and the best one that I would tell would be, I would just not want to do what I was told to do or being there. So I would just go out and exist somewhere else. So I didn't have to comply.
Distract, right?
So yeah, I'm a placater from way back, but I'm probably a better distractor. And in so many ways, when you go down the list of what people do as coping skills, all of them I do exceptionally well.
Hmm.
And I know it. And I teach my clients how to see themselves in a different way, in a different light, so they can change their perspective of where they're at and where they want to go. Because most of the time, they don't know what they don't know.
Until they know. Yeah, exactly.
What they don't know. That's right.
So 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 you're in Wisconsin? No,
Like Nebraska.
Nebraska. Okay. So if anybody is anywhere near and around Lincoln Hypnosis, I really encourage you to go visit Jeff. He's just an awesome hypnotist, great guy. And if you need to lose weight or quit smoking or need help with stress management or nail biting, and oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on, pain management or anything at all, I highly encourage you to connect with him. Just a really great guy. And so is there anything you want to leave people with knowing that some last notes, if you will,
I
for
would like
people.
to just let people know that if they have a belief that it can change,
Mm.
then change can happen. So the possibility of change is essential. If they don't think they can do it, then pause that thought for a moment, reach out to a qualified hypnotist or consultant. They will help you to see things in a different way
Mhm.
and help you to take the steps necessary to change your life. It's so
I love it.
powerful that people, it's almost like they can't believe it's true. So we're teaching new ways of belief, new ways of changing their life that they really didn't think was possible before.
I love it. I
Okay.
love it. That is oof, perfect. I love that. Well, thank you again, and we'll have all of Jeff's information in the show notes, and, all the links to find him. And thanks again.
Thank you, Tree.
Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's episode of The Root of It All with Tree. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. But before we go, I just wanted to remind you that you can follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram. And we will be posting motivational quotes and behind the scenes content that you won't want to miss. You can always sign up to come live while we're filming this, or even join us online through Zoom. We always offer open question and answer after each episode that we don't record, so it's all private, but you can get more involved. So sign up for free at businessgrowthresults.com, and we're going to cover all kinds of different topics that you're not going to want